the most important subjects in modern American life. He's now a podcaster for Salem Now at salemnow.com. Doug Collins. All right. So I want to tell you what I thought was very insightful and worthy of further discussion when I asked you the obvious question, why the obsession and the hatred? It's not just obsession, hatred. He was, you said, beneath them. I can't tell you how important I believe that is. I think that much of the left's disdain for fellow Americans is entirely class-based, not economic class. Class. We are smarter, we are more powerful, we are more sophisticated than those who are not on our side. Is that fair? Do we have the sound for Doug Collins? These are the things that drive me crazy. Okay.
We're there.
All right. I'm sorry. Here you are.
Yeah, no, I believe you're exactly right, Dennis. And interestingly enough, it has festered over time. Remember, over the past my lifetime, they thought Ronald Reagan was a slow actor. They thought George H.W. Bush was this sort of klutz. They thought Bill Clinton, of course, hung the moon. Then you went to George W. Bush and nothing except, making fun of him. He wasn't paying attention and he had a short, and then you went into Obama, who they treated almost as a second coming. And then it got to Donald Trump, and then it got very real because at this point, as I said, they thought he was beneath them. Notice what the liberals did in that class issue that you talked about. They would even go into law firms, business. Most presidents have the pick of who they want to come into their administration, even if they're in, especially the marginal political types. We always have the main political types that you put in. But fill in those jobs typically will come from a perspective, and the liberal side would actually go to these law firms, go to these businesses, and say, look, you will not work for the Trump administration or we will blackball you out of this, because they had such a disdain for somebody that they believed was not as sophisticated as they were, that was not as smooth as they were. And this is affecting our politics all the way up until this past election, this past week in Virginia, when you had, school board members who basically believed. Now, think about this, Dennis. School board members, one step removed from the general population because of an election, sitting there looking at parents saying, you should be happy that we're even speaking to you. That's the underreported story of this last few years.
This is so important and so rarely noted. The disdain of the left for the non-left is partially ideological, but it is primarily a sense of superiority. We are better and smarter. Every conservative president, every Republican president, except maybe the first George Bush, because he didn't bother them, was an idiot. Is just an idiot. From Ronald Reagan, as you pointed out, to Donald Trump. They're all idiots. So here's a question that my listeners might want to pose to their Democratic brother-in-law, and that is, can you name an intelligent conservative? That's a riddle for them.
Well, they would scratch their head. Because then they're torn. If they say yes, then they've undercut their entire argument about the conservative movement. If they say no, then they know that intellectually, here it goes back to bite them, intellectually they can't say no, because they do know that there are conservatives out there that they may disagree with and they try to downplay, but are intelligent. Remember, there was an old saying, I don't know if you remember the show The West Wing.
Yeah.
There was a discussion, a very interesting show. It was very liberal, but there was times of conservative balance. At least they would at least attempt it. And there was a conversation one time between, I think, one of the characters, a Rob Lowe character, and then the Ansley Hayes character in the thing. So they were talking about, how could you be against this. You know, the intellectual, you graduated from, you know, good schools. How could this happen? And the Angela Hayes character make this comment. She said, "You seem to forget it was basically the Harvard Club of the Harvard Washington Club that got us into Vietnam." And just making those kind of comments that bring it up, the fact that just because of establishment elitism, you believe your thoughts are right, doesn't mean that there's not another side. And that's the thing that the liberals can't assess to. I saw it firsthand with Jerry Nadler, with Eric Swalwell, with Steve Cohen, Mr. Chicken Bucket himself, which I talk about in the book, and Jamie Raskin and these others who believe themselves intellectually superior. And because they believe their ideas are what is right, when in actuality they're disconnected from mainstream.
It's a very much a class issue. That's why when they look at the map of the United States, that old New Yorker cartoon cover of the way a New Yorker looks at America, there's New York, then there's nothing, and then there's California. And that is how they look at it. And, you know, you're a congressman from Georgia. How bright could you be? That's truly what they believe.
I experienced that, actually. It is amazing to see some of the underlying comments among some of the not only other members, but even some of the I'm bringing this up, the lobbying class in D.C. They come to you as if you really don't have a good idea because you're a very conservative congressman from North Georgia who didn't go to an Ivy League school, who did not go to I didn't check the box. I'm a trooper's kid from North Georgia who earned my way through college and law school and master's program. And then so they would just talk down to you, and we see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Back in a moment.